Shalom, brothers.
Shalom.
It's Elder Tazadakba and Elder Tazayawan. Here with another lesson. I did a lesson with Elder Inat maybe about a week ago about who is Esau Edom. So basically, I call this More Lies of Esau Edom, and I'm actually filming and using the book Who is Esau Edom once again. Who is Esau Edom? So there's a passage in here that I didn't get to touch on when me and the brother touched on this last week. Now this passage here, it shows a chart. It's called The Legacy of Israel and Edom. Right? So I'm putting it right there on the camera. The Legacy of Israel and Edom. So, and on that chart, they show you some things on that chart. At the bottom of the chart, you see to the left and then to the right. And it tells you to the right about how the Edomites is saying the 10 tribes went up into Europe. And basically, they're saying here, migrated to Europe as the Celts, Goths, Saxons, Irish, Scots, Danes, etc., the 12 tribes of Israel under the new covenant. Now, the thing about that is, those were Israelites that went into Europe and became the Celts, Goths, the Saxons, the Irish, the Scots, the Danes, because the Dane means, Denmark means the mark of Dan, dealing with the tribe of Dan. The Scots and the Irish, the word Scot is from the Hebrew word shakal, which means black. And you got the term Irish, irate man or angry man. Ish meaning man, ire meaning to be irate. Angry man or irate man. Right? So what this book here, Esau Edom, is trying to say is that the people that went up into Europe are basically so-called white people. And that they're saying that the Edomites are also so-called white people. But the Edomites are supposed to be the so-called Jews, or what you would call self-styled Jews, who basically came out of the Khazar Empire. But Esau had many sons. There were many dukes of Edom. And the principal of the dukes of Edom was Amalek. And then under Amalek would be Teman. Because Teman is the wisest of all the Edomites. Teman, they're the wisest ones. They're the thinkers. They're the ones that come up with the technology. That would be the Germans, the people that are in Germany today. But in all these different European lands, Negroes were up in these lands. Not you so-called white people. And before you so-called white people took these lands were inhabited by the seed of Japhet. By Elisha, one of Japhet's son. Togarmah, another one of Japhet's son. Ashkenaz, another one of Japhet's son. Lud, another one of Japhet's sons. Gog, Magog. These different lands that you Edomites had took over, these were Japhetic lands, and you took over these lands, and then you put the name of that land on yourself, like Ashkenaz. A group of you so-called Jews, the ones that went over there and took over the Caucasus in between the Black and Caspian Sea, because really your homeland is south of Judah. It's called Mount Seir, the land of Edom. But they call you the Ashkenazi Jews. The name Ashkenaz is one of the sons of Japhet. You're not Ashkenaz. You're not from the line of Ashkenaz. You went in there and took over the land of Ashkenaz, and then you put the name, call yourself Ashkenaz. That's what you devils like to do. You got something, brother?
I got the Job 30. Let me start there.
Okay. No, get ye are forges of lies.
Right.
Get that, ye are forges of lies. Because what you devils like to do is, you like to go into lands. You know, Psalms 49:11. The inward thought is that in the one in Job. Mm-hmm. What you devils like to do is you like to go into lands and take them over, and then you take on the name of the people of that land and act as if you were the people that were originally in the land, which is a damn lie. Because like the whole thing that we were looking at in the chart, that's called the Legacy of Edom and Israel. This particular chart, The people on here that are from out of the loins of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are so-called black people, American, what you would call American black people. And they're not Hamitic, by the way, they're Shemitic. And you so-called white people, you're Shemitic also. Go ahead.
Psalms 49:11. It says, their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names.
Right, they call their lands after their own names. But what you like to do is take over other people's lands and then take that name and call yourself by that name. There's another one that says, remove not thy neighbor's landmark. You're notorious for doing that, removing your neighbor's landmark. Because you want to get away from the stigma of you being Esau, Edom, and being the Edomites. You got the other one in Job?
I'm coming in.
Okay. So you want to get away from the stigma of being Edomites, and you want to... I got something, Deuteronomy 32:7. It says, remember the days of old, consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee thy elders, and they will tell thee. So what are we doing here? We're going into this thing breaking down who you Edomites are. So now the thing in here, when we looked at about where they're saying that they're saying that out of the Judean Israelites migrated to Europe as Celts, Goths, Saxons, Irish, Scots, Danes, etc., the 12 tribes of Israel under the new covenant. Number one, the 10 tribes of Israel around 723, 724 BC came over here to the land of the Americas under the Assyrian captivity. That's in the Apocrypha. All right, that's number one. That's in the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha tells you that the tribes came over here. Okay, the tribes came over here during the time of the Assyrian captivity. The 10 tribes were removed out of Samaria, and then they left from under Shalmaneser, and they came and they entered into the river Euphrates, and they came to the land where mankind never dwelt. That's over here in the Americas. Even in Encyclopedia Judaica, they'll tell you that the land of Osiris, which is mentioned in the book of Ezra, the land of Osiris is America. That's the land that the tribes came to. So, you know, in the 15th century, which would be 1492, when Columbus made his voyages over here to the New World, he knew the people over here were Israelites, based off of the book of Ezra. Ezra was one of the books in his possession. Go ahead.
Con. This is Job 13:4. But ye are forgers of lies, ye are all physicians of no value.
Right. Ye are all forgers of lies, ye are physicians of no value. Now, I was reading the thing there where it said here about the migrated to Europe as Celts, Goths, Saxons, Irish, Scots, and Danes. Well, this book right here is called The Negro Rulers of Scotland, right? The Negro Rulers of Scotland. And what you see is a black man, a king, sitting on a horse with his armies behind him. These are all clearly black men. The Negro Rulers of Scotland and the British Isles. So you've been lying for years. You devils have been lying for years about who the people are that were in Scotland, in the British Isles, that were in these different countries, Scotland, Ireland. It wasn't you so-called white people. It was Negroes that were in there before you devils came up in there and conquered and ran us up out of there. All right? You conquered and you ran us up out of these lands. Here you got pictures of a brother named David II, who was a Christian king around the time of 1329 to 1371 AD. Then you got another Moorish Catholic king, Robert II Stuart, AD 1371 to AD 1390. And these are clearly black men. So I'm just showing just a little bit, just a teeny bit. David II. And then the other brother right here, Robert II Stuart. The Negro Moorish Catholic King, Robert II Stuart. was the first Stuart king of Scotland, AD 1371 to 1390. That's just giving you a little taste of who were the people that were actually up there in Scotland and Ireland and those different lands before you Edomites came up in there and took over. Because originally, those different lands were inhabited by the seed of Japheth. So now I'm just going to briefly touch on something and just read some information and give some Babak Rashah. Forgive me for a second. Yes, here it goes. Now, here we go. Now, it said the British Isles too, right? Now, here's a Irish priest, Saint Brendan the Navigator, Irish priest from Ireland, James Anderson, 1911, Riddles of Prehistoric Times. This little black Welshman, Scot, settled in France, Guanches of the Canary Island, France, Ireland, Spain, and the British Isles, and all over Europe. And that's this guy right here. Irish priest. This is a Jake. That's just an example. Then we're gonna do some reading. That's just an example right there. So what you got there?
Go ahead. I just read it. I'll read it again. This is Job 13 and 4. The book of Job 13 verse 4. But ye are forgers of lies.
Right, ye are forgers of lies. So we're breaking down the lies that you devils have forged over the centuries about who were the people that dwelt in these lands. And we're talking about the Middle Ages, okay? We're talking about the Middle Ages is when Israelites was up in those lands and took control in those lands. We're talking about the Middle Ages, by the way. Go ahead.
Ye are all physicians of no value.
Now I'm going to read on here in this book called The Negro Question Part 4 by The Missing Link by Lee Cummings. Now he goes, I'm going to read and give you these references. Professor Winchell Alexander, Our Remote Ancestry, 1850 to 1900. Collections of journals. These short black men came from Atlantis, northern Africa, and they overran Europe. They were known as Britons. Here's another one. Roman historian Tacitus, The Origins of the Black Britons. The Iberians are black people with curly hair. Anthropological Review, Society, London, Volume 8. You got Job, what is it, Job 8 and 8 or Job 4 and 8? I think it is.
4 and 8? Hey, give me 1 second.
I think it's 8 and 8 or 4 and 8. It's one of them two. It says here, Joseph Ritson, Annals of Caledonian Picts and Scots, Volume 2, page 727. He says, the Picts/Brits are brown complexion with curly hair. Ivan Sertima, African Presence in Early Europe, page 225. The Britons look like the Ethiopians, meaning the word Ethiopian means burnt face. Here's another one. Albert Churchward, 1912, Origins and Evolution, pages 12 and 13. The Black Basque were exterminated from Europe. That's talking about black bodies. The Black Basque was exterminated from, the word Basque is talking about bodies. Were exterminated from Europe. You got something, brother?
Job 8 and 8. For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age.
Right, the scriptures say, inquire, I pray thee, of the former age. Go ahead.
It says, for inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers.
Right, that's what we're doing. We're showing you the search of our forefathers, because there's many lies that Esau Edom has put out there over the centuries about who they are, who the Israelites are, who the real Jews are, who in fact are the real 10 lost tribes of the nation of Israel. They've put a lot of lies out there over the years. So now our thing is, we're basically reclaiming what we lost. What is that? Is that Jeremiah 17? Is that 17 and 9?
I'm okay.
Where the Lord said, he will cause us to discontinue from the heritage that he gave us. We discontinue from our heritage. That's why the masses of you Negroes, West Indians, Puerto Ricans, Haitians, Dominicans, Cubans, Mexicans, Brazilians, Argentinians, Chileans, Uruguayans, Guatemalans, you don't know who you are because we discontinue from the heritage that the Lord gave us. And I'm going to read a little bit more in here. It says, Professor Boyd Dawkins, Our Earliest Ancestors, Bygone Days, a lecture delivered in the public hall, Collyhurst, Manchester, 1/8/1879, January 8th, 1879. The ancient Britons, Irish, Scots, are a short black people. Pages 103 and 107. Dr. Thurnham, Nature Journal of Science, page 92. From the evidence at hand, it seems that the word Iberian is what? That's another word for Eber, going back to Hebrew or Hebrews. That's what the word Iberia means. It goes back to the word Eber, which is where you get the word Hebrew from. Ha-Ibar. So Iberia is saying Ha-Ibar, the Hebrews. It says, Dr. Thurnham, Nature Journal of Science, from the evidence at hand, it seems that the Iberian black man occupied the whole of Western Europe at one time. So you can't come here claiming these lies that you've been putting out for centuries and centuries. Really from the time of the Renaissance till now, you've been putting out those lies. Because prior to that, everybody knew that those lands over there was all black people over there. Everybody knew that. Even in 1751, Benjamin Franklin penned an essay. I believe it's called Observations of Mankind. And he talks about in there that these different lands in Europe, Portugal, Spain, Asia, Sweden, Germany, is basically full of people of a swarthy complexion. And that was back in 1751. Before America, about 20 some odd years before America got its independence in 1776. So in 1751, he penned that essay and put that out there. And he spoke about, the word swarthy means dark skin. The people in all these different European lands, including Switzerland, are dark-skinned people. And he was saying that in 1751. Go ahead.
Jeremiah 17:4. And thou, even thyself, and thou is talking about the nation of Israel, which are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. It says, and thou, Slaki, this shit is turned off for me. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. Right, and that happened to the nation of Israel, from you Negroes down to you Latinos, to you Native Americans. We serving. Are we not still to this day serving our enemy? Or who's our enemy? Esau, Edom. You know them as so-called white people today. It says, in the land which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever.
Right, in the land which thou knowest not. And that land eventually became what? Here in the Americas. This is the land where mankind never dwelt.
Right.
A land which thou knowest not. The transatlantic slave trade brought over the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi on them boats here to the Americas, in the Caribbean, the Cape Verdean Islands, Jamaica, Trinidad, Haiti, St. John, St. Croix, St. Kitts, the Virgin Islands.
And don't forget the brothers that were here already.
Right.
The 10 tribes.
Right. The 10 tribes was already here.
Mm-hmm.
So the tribes were brought over here in slavery on them slave ships by you so-called white people. And who was the spearhead of that? You so-called Jews. You were the spearhead of all of that. You were the ones that made the money. The auction blocks was closed on Jewish holidays. So that goes to show you who was running the slave trade. You so-called Jews. You were the ones that were running the slave trade. So those are images right there. Go ahead, brother. You speak on it.
Go ahead. Yeah, the first image you saw was those were who the so-called white men called the Arawaks on the island of Barbados, which those are the tribes of Ephraim. All right, you had the tribes of Manasseh, the tribe of Simeon. All right, and them islands. They call them Arawaks. then they lied and said that they all died off. That's all bullshit. That's all bullshit. They're still out here amongst us.
That's right. They're still out here amongst us. So you said that they died off, but what you did was you raped, robbed, and murdered them, and you intermingled yourself among them, and then you brought the Negro tribes to those different islands, and the Negro tribes also intermingled with them. So they're still there. Those people are still there. Those Tainos and them Arawaks, they're still there.
That's right.
They never left, and you didn't kill them all off either. They're still there, along with the Negro tribes that were brought there and dropped off at them islands to work the sugar cane, because the sugar cane was the big business out there in the Caribbean, and that climate, that sugar cane is one of the main things that is produced out there. It don't matter if it's Puerto Rico, if it's Jamaica, if it's Trinidad, if it's Haiti, sugar cane is big business. Go ahead, brother.
And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee. And then our people, they discontinue from that, because look, the majority of our people don't know who the hell they are.
That's right.
They call themselves all kind of names, all kind of different names under the sun, except for who they are, that they're Israelites. Right? They don't follow the law, statutes, and commandments of the Heavenly Father. They don't pray to the Heavenly Father the right way. They pray to white Jesus, or they pray to Allah, or they pray to whatever shithole religion they into.
Right.
But they're not into the right one. So we discontinue from our heritage that I gave thee. And y'all so bugged out, y'all call the so-called white men the Jews.
Right.
That's how gone our people are.
You got some damn nerve. And then you got some niggas that are so bugged out that you would actually would try to say that the Hebrew that we're speaking, that's Ebonics Hebrew.
Okay.
That's Ebonics Hebrew that you're speaking, which is total bullshit.
Yeah, but first of all, to argue with a nigga, it makes no sense, because what the fuck does he know about Hebrew in the first place?
Right. You don't know shit. So in your mind, the so-called Jew, the so-called white man is right with his speaking and his pronunciation, which I'm gonna show you something. Is total bullshit. See, that shows that you guys are unlearned, and you have a major demon on you.
Well, they have a fervent love for the so-called white man.
Right. You have a fervent love for this devil, the so-called white man. Now I'm gonna show you what a devil, a so-called white man, a so-called Jew named what's his name here? His name is Benjamin Friedman. Right? And Benjamin Friedman, he was born in 1890, so he was here on the earth for World War I, World War II. He was also here during the time of the Balfour Declaration. He was here. He was here also. He lived here on the earth when the Bolsheviks went in and took over Russia. He lived through all that. He was an eyewitness of all that. And he was brought up to be a so-called Jew. He was also raised as a so-called Jew. And he says here in this book that was put together by him, the name of the book is called Facts Are Facts, right? By Benjamin Friedman, right? It's called Facts Are Facts by Benjamin Friedman. Mm-hmm. And it says, the historic facts revealed here for the first time provided incontestable evidence that their continued suppression will prove inimical to the security of the nation, the peace of the world, the welfare of humanity, and the progress of civilizations. Now he goes on to say here about you so-called Jews, you Khazars, right? He says here about you because you are the people who currently occupy our identity. All right? What's that? Revelation 2 and 9?
Okay.
Right? Revelations 2 and 9. Because we have an imposter that's impersonating us, saying that they are us, that they're the people of the Lord. And that imposter is you so-called Jews. Because you're running around saying that you're the Israelites when you converted to Judaism in 740 AD. In 740 AD was when you converted to Judaism. Go ahead.
Revelation 2 and 9. It says, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not.
Right. The Lord said, I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, which is you so-called Jews. Now it goes on to say here, I'm going to read here on page 54 in the book Facts of Facts. The Khazars were a pagan nation when they invaded Eastern Europe. Their religious worship was a mixture of phallic worship and other forms of idolatrous worship practiced in Asia by pagan nations. This form of worship continued until the 7th century. The vile forms of sexual excesses indulged in by the Khazars as their form of religious worship produced a degree of moral degeneracy. So you were a bunch of which means what? You weren't just having sex with each other. You were having sex with animals, fleas, ticks, any damn thing you could get your hands on. You were totally immoral. Job 30 and 30. You people were totally immoral, nasty, filthy people. And this is one of your own so-called Jews, Benjamin Friedman, saying this about you. Arthur Koestler spoke these things about you too, speaking about the Khazars. Arthur Koestler, another so-called Jew, who revealed the inner workings of you so-called Jews, you Khazars. Right? So he says, I'm going to read it again. This form of worship continued until the 7th century. The vile forms of sexual excess indulged in by the Khazars as their form of religious worship produced a degree of moral degeneracy. You were a bunch of moral degenerates. You got that?
Yeah. Job 30 and 1. But now they that are younger than I have me in derision.
Right. They that are younger than I have me in derision. It's talking about you, the so-called white man. You have us, the children of Israel, in derision right now. Because you came out of us. We don't come from you. So they that are younger than I have me in derision. Go ahead.
It says, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock.
Job said, your fathers he would have disdained to have set you with the dogs of his flock. Why? Because you would have sit there and try to start freaking off with the damn dogs. And we're reading about it right here. One of your own people is exposing you. That you guys were into all kinds of form of nastiness, sexual, moral degeneracy. You were a bunch of damn degenerates. And on top of being a bunch of degenerates, that's why you converted to Judaism in around 740 AD. Because as a matter of fact, I'm going to read on it, and we're going to go back there to Job. It says, the Khazar king could not endure. In the 7th century, King Bulan, ruler at the time of the Khazar kingdom, decided to abolish the practice of phallic worship and other forms of idolatrous worship and make one of 3 monotheistic religions about which he knew very little. The new state religion, after a historic session with representatives of the 3 monotheistic religions, King Bulan decided against Christianity and Islam and selected as the future state religion of the religious worship then known as Talmudism and now known and practiced as Judaism. This event is well documented in history. So in that time, that's when you devils converted to what you call it Judaism. That's when you converted, and that's when you started picking up and trying to learn how to speak the Hebrew. And as a matter of fact, you didn't speak Hebrew. You never picked up and learned how to speak the correct Hebrew. Because now I'm going to read on. I know the brother got some more there in Job. So we'll touch on some more in Job, and then I'm going to read a little bit more in here.
Good. So let's read from the top again.
Yeah.
Job 30 and 1. But now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock.
Because you were so dirty and nasty that you would freak off with the damn dog. The dogs of my flock, he would have disdained to have set you with the dogs of his flock. Go ahead.
It says, yea, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished. For want and famine they were solitary. fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste.
Desolate and waste. That's you, Esau. Go ahead.
Who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. They were driven forth from among men.
Because you were nasty, you were disgusting. All right, go ahead.
They cried after them as after a thief.
And that's what you are. You specialize in stealing everything that you have. You Edomites, you're a bunch of thieves. You steal everything that you have. Everything that you get is by the sword. You use the sword to steal anything that you want. Go ahead.
To dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in the caves of the earth.
Right. And you dwelt in the cliffs of the valleys and in the caves of the earth. And these are the things that you were doing when you were up there in the cliffs of the valley and in the caves of the earth.
And in the rocks.
And in the rocks. Sexual and moral degeneracy is what you were doing. And then another thing, like I mentioned earlier, you got guys who call themselves Israelites and they try to knock and talk crap about the Lashuan Kodash and saying, oh, that's Ebonics Hebrew. As if to say that the so-called Jew, the so-called white man, has the correct pronunciation of our language, of our mother tongue. Now I'm going to read here what Benjamin Friedman goes on to say about the Khazars, the so-called Jews. Page 57. When Khazars in the 1st century BC invaded Eastern Europe, their mother tongue was an Asiatic language, referred to in the Jewish Encyclopedia as the Khazar languages. They were primitive Asiatic dialects without any alphabet. So they didn't have no alphabet. All right? Them so-called Jews, them Khazars, they didn't have no alphabet. They didn't have an alphabet or any written form. When King Bullen, we read about Kagan Bullen, was converted in the 7th century, he decreed that the Hebrew characters he saw in the Talmud and other Hebrew documents was thereupon to become the alphabet for the Khazar language. So you didn't have no language. Okay? So trying to tell us that about some damn E's and V's in the Hebrew, that ain't in the Hebrew. You got the 2 vowel signs in Hebrew, the ah and the I sound. And the other sounds are all consonants. The ah and the I are the 2 vowels. The other sounds are all consonants. So you so-called Jews, you didn't have no language. So everybody's looking to you like you're the authority and you ain't nothing but the damn devil and a damn lowlife and a scumbag. So I'm going to read on. It says the Hebrew characters were adopted to the phonetics of the spoken Khazar language. The Khazars adopted the characters of the so-called Hebrew language in order to provide a means for providing a written record of their speech. The adoption of the Hebrew characters had no racial, political, or religious implication. Now I'm going to jump down. Since the conquest of the Khazars by the Russians and the disappearance of the Khazar kingdom, the language of the Khazars is known as Yiddish. So that shittish that they speak, that's what we call it, shittish. That's exactly what it is, because it ain't Hebrew. It's that Khazar language, that Khazar dialect. So for any of you out there who call yourself Israelites to say that the way that the Hebrew is pronounced is bogus because you believe the so-called Jew is right, you need to take your head out your ass, man.
Well, brother, you know what? I got a better idea. Keep your head in your ass. You're going to be destroyed. Simple. The times we in right now, ain't no time to be playing games, man.
Right.
We're living in a time of the judgment of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. If your head is still in your ass, it's going to stay in your ass. What's that? Revelation 22.
Yeah.
He that is filthy, let him be filthy still.
Yeah, let's get that. We ain't
worrying about you.
Yeah, we'll get Revelation. But you know what? But you know what? Hey, but you know what? We gotta set you guys straight. And we gotta curse your ass out.
Yeah.
Because you coming out there with that falsehood. Because you do have people that are just being turned on to Israel, and you got a lot of falsehoods that's being taught out there by guys that should know better, by guys that are how would you say, veterans of this thing. Okay, by guys who are veterans of this thing that go back to the old One West. So we got to dispel all these lies, man. We got to dispel. I'm gonna read a little bit more, and we're gonna wrap this up. So sitting here saying that the Hebrew that we speak, Abanawa Shabashamayim, Kodash, Hayashim Ka, Malakwath Ka, Thaba'ar, Ratazaka, all of that, saying that's not the Hebrew, basically saying the so-called Jewish right, man, you're blacked out of your goddamn mind, man. And the Yahweh Shem Shai is going to deal with your ass. So I'm going to just finish up. It says, for about 6 centuries, the so-called or self-styled Jews of Eastern Europe have referred to themselves, while still resident in their native Eastern European countries, because those are not your native countries either, all right, as Yiddish by nationality. It is, you know what it is? Shiddish. It ain't Hebrew. All right. It says they identified themselves as Yiddish rather than as Russian, Polish, Galician, Lithuanian, Romanian, Hungarian, or by the nation of which they were citizens. They also referred to the common language they all spoke as Yiddish also. So that's just a little more information and proof about more lies of Esau Edom that we had to dispel about Esau Edom. Now, we wasn't gonna be here for 3 hours doing this. We, come in, hit the information, hit the point, hit the scriptures, and that's it.
Hey,
so,
you know what? Hey, and for brothers on my channel watching this, couple things. This is the second part right here. The first part, there's an in-between part that I didn't film because there was a little camera problem I just had. So tell them what channel is your channel to see the whole show of this show that we're watching right now.
Right, the channel.
This show right here, not what you're seeing on your screen. The show that we're having right now.
Right, this show that we're completing right now, it'll be on Disappoint the Wicked on YouTube.
Disappoint the Wicked.
Right.
You'll see this whole show because there's a part of this show that's missing.
Right. The Elder Zion was filming it also with his phone, and his phone stopped, and he had to restart it.
Yeah.
So that's what he's talking about.
Another thing too, before we continue, this channel right here, this is GMS at the Job 2. I have 2 strikes. All right, the devil gave me 2 strikes. The 3rd strike might come tomorrow. Who knows? But anyway, just in case that happens, my other channel is Jacob versus Esau. It's Jacob, spell out the word Jacob, capital J, lowercase a, C-O-B, space, versus is V-S, period, space, capital E-S-A-U, Esau. Jacob versus Esau is my other channel in case they whack this channel out of here.
Yep.
I just want to put that up there so we can finish your...
Come.
I got a scripture to show.
So yeah, we wrap it up with that scripture right there.
Come. So this is Revelation 22:7. It says, behold, I come quickly. Blessed is he that keepeth the sayings of this prophecy of this book.
Right, the Lord said, behold, I come quickly, and blessed is he that keepeth the sayings of the prophecy of this book. Go ahead.
Yeah, come, because the brother, like the elder Tazadap I was going into, you got mojos out there, supposed to know better, like he said, out there spewing out bullshit. But see, the time we're living in now, Yahweh Shai is coming back quickly. And they that got this truth, and breaking, they got the proper breakdowns and a proper understanding of this truth, hold fast to it, man. All right? And that's right. And through the Spirit of the Lord is what we're doing. Right? It says, hold fast. It says, blessed is he that keepeth the sayings of the prophecy of this book. Jump down to 22:10. It says, and he saith unto me, seal not the sayings of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand.
Right. Seal not the sayings of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. The time is at hand right now of the destruction of the so-called white man's entire power structure, his world. This is the destruction of the so-called white man's power structure right now. So we're not to conceal this information right here. This information is to be brought out. Go ahead.
He that is unjust, let him be unjust still.
Right. He that is unjust, you guys that are wicked, you guys that are going off, hey, you know what? To hell with you. But we still going to correct you on the things that you're going off on. But
for the sake of the brothers that's learning.
Right. For the sake of the new men, the people that are coming in, so they don't get pulled up into your foolishness. For the sake of that.
Yeah, well, I don't say, and just on that too, you brothers that are new to this, You watch GMS shows, whether it be our shows, get from the apostles, the elders, the rest of the brethren out there. Stick to one group, man. Don't be watching us, then go watch Johanna, then go watch Nate, because you're just gonna be confused, dude.
Right. That's how you get confused, because you start that camp hopping. If you're gonna listen to Johanna, then just listen to Johanna. If you're gonna listen to Nate and IUIC, then just listen to them. If you're gonna listen to GOCC, then just listen to them.
But we warn you, them niggas are going off.
We warned you.
You can't say that. See, we gotta wash the blood off our hands.
Yep.
We warning you that them niggas ain't fucking right. I mean, there's eons of videos out there on that.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
and that's
and we're not saying that because we hate these dudes personally. No, they're teaching the scriptures totally wrong, and they're leading the brotherhood astray.
That's right.
They're not warning them of the great day that's coming. All right, they're telling them to follow the so-called white man. They got them telling you to get the sauce,
right?
To put the sauce in your veins.
Yep.
That's a hireling, man. That's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
That's right, a wolf in cheap clothing.
In cheap clothing. So back in the scripture here, it says, back in Revelation 22:11, he that is unjust, let him be unjust still, and he which is filthy, let him be filthy still.
So he that is unjust, let him be unjust still. He that is filthy, let him be filthy still. Don't worry about it. Hey, you know what? Hey, we trying to tell you, hey, turn around. You're about to step off the cliff and you paint the rocks. And you just keep looking at us like, man, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, fine.
So you know what? Walk off the cliff, nigga.
Because you know why? We'll be blameless.
Yep.
Because our job is to warn you.
We tried to turn you around, but you don't want to listen, so walk off the cliff.
Exactly. We can't, I mean, even in the world, they got an old saying. You can lead a donkey to the water, but you can't make the motherfucker drink.
That's right.
And it's just what it is. Anyway, it says, and he that is righteous, let him be righteous still.
He that is righteous, let him be righteous still.
Right, so if you're in this, stay in this. Don't go to the right or the left. All right? Stay with the mission. All the way to the end. It says, and he that is holy, let him be holy still.
And he that is holy, let him be holy still.
And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me, to give every man according as his work shall be.
Yep. And the Lord said, behold, he comes quickly, and to give every man according to as his work shall be.
A reward.
A reward.
All right? We'll get our reward at the end of this whole deal. But right now we're holding that baton, so to speak, and we got to keep going. Don't faint, because the finish line is right there. All right? Don't be weary of Esau. He's almost out. You see, this devil is worming and squirming on all levels, man.
That's right.
Before this brother guy was watching the news, you got the freighters shortage. Over there in England, they got a gas shortage because the truckers are few. There's hardly no truckers there, so now there's nobody bringing in gas. Now they got a gas shortage.
Look at that.
All over the world, you got all kind of pains here and there, man. All over the place. And they're just getting worse.
That's right.
So we're happy for these things because we know that our salvation is very near. Yahweh Shai, we just read the scripture. Yahweh Shai said, behold, I come quickly, man.
Yep.
And it's beautiful. So with that, we pray you brothers were edified. All right? Until the next one, we say shalom.
Shalom.